The words came through the intercom at 2 in the morning, raw and desperate enough to cut through the rain. "My daughter is dying, sir." The steward's voice crackled back, clipped and formal. "This is a private residence. You must contact the hospital." Rosa Callahan pressed her forehead against the steering wheel, rain drumming on the roof of her ancient sedan. In the back seat, wrapped in every blanket Rosa owned, her daughter Lily slept with the terrible stillness of the very ill. 6 years old, 42 pounds, white blood cell count climbing daily despite everything the doctors had tried. Rosa had driven 8 hours from Vienna after a rumor from another desperate mother in an online forum. A name, an address in Prague. A possibility so thin it barely deserved the word hope, but Rosa had run out of everything else 3 weeks ago when the oncologist had stopped meeting her eyes. She pressed the intercom again. "Please, I know what you are. I know what he is. I'm not asking for charity. I'll work. I'll do anything. Just let me speak to him." "Madam, you are mistaken. This is the private estate of Jareth Ravencroft," Rosa said, "the vampire king of the Central European bloodlines." "I know. That's why I'm here." Silence on the other end. Then, "You need to leave, now." "My daughter has acute lymphoblastic leukemia," Rosa said, and her voice finally cracked. "She's 6. Every treatment failed. She has maybe 2 weeks. I drove 8 hours because someone told me vampire blood can heal. If that's wrong, I'll leave. But if it's true and you send us away, then you're killing her yourself. I cannot help you. Go." Rosa sat back, rain blurring the mansion beyond the iron gates into something from a Gothic painting. Lights burned in the upper windows. Someone was awake. Someone was listening. She picked up the intercom one last time. "I'm a paralegal. I've spent 2 years fighting insurance companies for my daughter's care. I read contracts in my sleep. I know every loophole, every clause, every way corporations hide behind legal language to let people die. If you think I'm going to give up now, you don't know who you're dealing with. I'll sit at this gate until morning. I'll call every journalist in Prague. I'll make this a problem you can't ignore." She meant it. She would burn down the world if it gave Lily one more day. The intercom clicked off. Rosa closed her eyes. Lily stirred in the back seat, murmuring something too soft to hear. Rosa reached back, found her daughter's hand, held it. The fever made Lily's skin hot and dry. "It's okay, baby," Rosa whispered. "Mama's got you." Minutes passed. The rain continued its relentless percussion. Rosa's phone showed 2:47 a.m. She'd give it until dawn, she decided. Then she'd try something else. There was always something else, even if she couldn't see it yet. Movement beyond the gates made her look up. A figure walked down the long drive, tall, unhurried, no umbrella, no jacket despite the rain. As he came closer, the security lights caught him properly and Rosa's breath stopped. White hair, perfectly straight, falling past his shoulders. Skin so pale it seemed to gather light. He wore dark trousers and a white shirt with the sleeves rolled to his elbows, and he moved with the fluid certainty of something that had never doubted its right to exist. He reached the gate and looked directly at Rosa through the rain-streaked windshield. Even from 15 feet away, even through glass and water and darkness, his eyes pinned her in place, dark red, like garnets, like blood in a glass of wine. He pressed something on the stone pillar. The gates swung open in silence. Rosa sat frozen as he walked to her car. He stopped at the rear door, looked through the window at Lily's sleeping form, then pulled the door open with absolute calm. "Wait!" Rosa said, scrambling out into the rain. "What are you—" He was already lifting Lily, blankets and all, cradling her against his chest with the ease of someone who'd carried precious things before. Lily's head lolled against his shoulder. She didn't wake. "Your daughter weighs nothing," he said, and his voice carried an accent Rosa couldn't place, something old and layered. "How long has she been this ill?" 15 months since diagnosis, Rosa said, rain soaking through her clothes in seconds. 8 months since the second relapse. You're him, Jareth Ravencroft." "I am." He looked at her then, properly, and Rosa felt the weight of something ancient turning its attention toward her. "You threatened to call journalists?" "I would have." "I believe you." Something that might have been approval flickered across his face. "Come inside. Quickly." He turned and walked back toward the mansion, carrying Lily as though she weighed no more than a thought. Rosa grabbed her bag from the front seat and ran after him, her heart hammering so hard she could barely breathe. The mansion's doors opened before Jareth reached them. The steward from the intercom stood there, middle-aged and severe in a dark suit, his expression caught between disapproval and resignation. "My lord, the council will—" "I'm aware, Victor," Jareth said, striding past him into a marble entrance hall that belonged in a museum. "Prepare the west bedroom. Have Mira bring warmed broth and honey water. Then leave us." "My lord, now." Victor disappeared. Jareth carried Lily up a sweeping staircase and Rosa followed, dripping rainwater onto antique rugs that probably cost more than her car. The walls were lined with paintings in heavy gold frames, faces from centuries past watching their procession with dark eyes. The west bedroom was all cream and gold, with a 4-poster bed that could have slept 5 people. Jareth laid Lily down carefully, arranging the blankets around her. In the warm light, her skin looked translucent, blue veins visible at her temples. Her breathing came shallow and quick. Rosa moved to her daughter's side immediately, touching her forehead, her cheek, still burning. "She needs fluids," Rosa said. "I have her medications in my bag, but the anti-nausea drug makes her sleepy and—" "I know what she needs," Jareth said quietly. He stood at the foot of the bed, watching Lily with an expression Rosa couldn't read. "I can smell the cancer in her blood. Her bone marrow is producing malformed cells faster than her body can manage. She's in pain even while sleeping." Rosa's throat tightened. "Yes. How old are you?" The question caught her off guard. 28. Why does that matter?" "Her father. Gone. He left when she was diagnosed. Said he couldn't handle it." Rosa's hands curled into fists. "Can you help her or not?" Jareth was silent for a long moment, his gaze still on Lily. "What do you know about vampire blood?" "Almost nothing. Someone in a support forum said it could heal anything. That was enough." "It can heal many things," Jareth said. "Injuries, infections, some diseases. Cancer is more complicated. The blood would need to be given repeatedly over time to suppress the malformed cell production long enough for her body to stabilize." Hope blazed so bright in Rosa's chest that it hurt. "You can do that?" "I can." He looked at her then, and his expression was grave. "But you need to understand the consequences. Vampire blood, given to a human repeatedly, changes them, not into a vampire that requires death and revival, but into what we call a part blood. Enhanced healing, slower aging, increased strength, and legal complications." "Legal complications?" "The Council of Central European Bloodlines claims wardship over every part blood in its territory," Jareth said. "The moment your daughter becomes part blood, the Council can petition for custody. They would argue that she needs to be raised by vampires, educated in our ways, protected from humans who might exploit her." Rosa felt the floor drop out from under her. "You're saying if you save her, they can take her from me?" "They will try." "Then what's the point?" Rosa's voice rose, sharp with fury and desperation. "I don't care if she's stronger or lives longer if I lose her anyway. She's my daughter. Mine." "I know." Jareth's voice remained calm, but something in his eyes shifted. "I'm telling you this because you have a right to know what you're facing, but I want you to understand something else. I am not asking the Council's permission. I don't need it. I am the king of these bloodlines, and I decide what happens in my territory." "But you just said they'd try to take her." "They will try," Jareth agreed, "and we will stop them. Together if necessary." Rosa stared at him. The vampire king stood there in his shirt sleeves, rain still darkening his shoulders, looking at her daughter with something almost like tenderness. "Why?" Rosa asked. "Why would you do this? You don't know us." "I opened the gate because you didn't beg," Jareth said. "You demanded. You threatened. You made yourself impossible to ignore. That takes courage of a particular kind." He paused. "Also, I heard everything you said at the intercom. You fought insurance companies for 2 years. You drove 8 hours on a rumor. You would have called journalists at dawn. You're a mother who refuses to stop fighting. That's rare. It deserves respect. Rosa felt tears burn in her eyes, but she blinked them back. If you do this, I'll fight for her. The council, the legal system, whatever it takes, I'm good at fighting. I believe you. Jareth moved to the side of the bed, his attention returning to Lily. I need your permission to give her my blood. She's your daughter. The choice is yours. Rosa looked down at Lily's small, still face. 15 months of hospitals and needles and procedures. 15 months of watching her daughter fade. The memory of Lily before the diagnosis running through parks, laughing at cartoons, stealing cookies when she thought Rosa wasn't looking felt like something from another life. Do it, Rosa said. Please. Jareth nodded once. He rolled up his right sleeve further, then lifted his wrist to his mouth. His fangs appeared without ceremony, white and sharp, and he bit into his own flesh with the clinical efficiency of someone who'd done this before. Blood welled, dark red against his pale skin. He moved his wrist to Lily's mouth, letting several drops fall between her parted lips. Lily stirred, her face crumpling at the unfamiliar taste. Jareth withdrew his wrist, and Rosa watched as the wound sealed itself in seconds. That's enough for tonight, Jareth said. She'll sleep more deeply now, and the fever will break by morning. The pain will lessen, but she'll need more tomorrow, and the day after, and for several weeks at minimum. How long will the effect last? With regular doses, indefinitely. If we stop, the cancer would return within months. He looked at Rosa directly. This is a permanent commitment for her lifetime. I understand. Rosa touched Lily's hair, smoothing it back from her feverish forehead. Already her breathing seemed easier. Thank you. I don't know how to thank you properly. You can thank me by getting rest yourself, Jareth said. There's an adjoining room through that door. You look like you haven't slept in days. I can't leave her. I'll stay with her. Rosa blinked. You'll what? I'll stay, Jareth repeated. If she wakes disoriented or in pain, she shouldn't be alone. And you need rest or you'll collapse. You're the vampire king. Don't you have better things to do than babysit a sick child? At 3:30 in the morning, after giving my blood to a dying girl? No. His mouth quirked, not quite a smile. Go, sleep. She's safe. Rosa wanted to argue, but exhaustion hit her like a physical blow. She hadn't slept more than 3 hours at a stretch in months. The adrenaline that had carried her through the drive and the confrontation at the gate was draining away, leaving her hollow. If she needs me, I'll wake you immediately. Rosa nodded, surrendering. She leaned down, kissed Lily's forehead, then forced herself to walk into the adjoining room. It was smaller but no less luxurious, with a bed that looked impossibly soft. She collapsed onto it fully clothed, not even bothering to remove her wet shoes. Her last thought before sleep claimed her was of the vampire king sitting beside her daughter's bed, keeping watch. Rosa woke to sunlight streaming through heavy curtains and the smell of coffee. For a disorienting moment she couldn't remember where she was, then everything rushed back in a flood. She bolted upright, stumbled out of bed, and pushed through the connecting door. Lily was sitting up in bed, propped on pillows, holding a cup of something steaming. Her color looked better. Not healthy, but better. Less gray. Jareth sat in an armchair near the window, hidden in shadow. The curtains were drawn tight, letting in only thin strips of light. He wore the same clothes from last night, and he looked exactly as composed as he had at 3 in the morning. Mama! Lily's voice was thin but bright. There's a vampire here. He's really nice. Rosa's legs nearly buckled with relief. She crossed to the bed, pulling Lily into a careful hug. Baby, how do you feel? Weird. Lily pulled back, frowning thoughtfully. My tummy doesn't hurt as much, and I'm not cold anymore. Mr. Jareth said you brought me here because he has special medicine. That's right. Rosa glanced at Jareth over Lily's head. He inclined his head slightly, acknowledging her gratitude. Can I have pancakes? Lily asked hopefully. I'm really hungry. Rosa's breath caught. Lily hadn't asked for food in weeks. You're hungry? Really hungry. Mr. Jareth said that's a good sign. It's an excellent sign, Rosa said, blinking back tears. She looked at Jareth. Can she is regular food okay? More than okay, necessary. Jareth stood, moving carefully to stay in the shadows. I'll have Victor bring breakfast. What else does she like? Strawberries, Lily announced, and orange juice, and eggs if they're scrambled, but not if they're fried because fried eggs are gross. That earned her the ghost of a smile from Jareth. Noted. He moved to the door, opened it without stepping into the lit hallway, and murmured something to someone outside. When he returned to his shadowed corner, Rosa met his eyes. "Thank you," she said quietly, "for staying with her." "She woke once, around dawn," Jareth said. Confused about where she was, "I told her you were sleeping nearby and that she was safe. She accepted that and went back to sleep. She's a trusting child." "Too trusting sometimes," Rosa smoothed Lily's hair. "But after everything she's been through, I'm glad she still can be." Breakfast arrived, brought by a young woman in dark clothes who didn't quite look at Jareth directly. She set up a bed tray for Lily, complete with pancakes, eggs, strawberries, and orange juice, then disappeared as quickly as she'd come. Lily ate with more appetite than Rosa had seen in months. Not much by a healthy child's standards, but after weeks of barely choking down broth, it was a miracle. Rosa found herself relaxing for the first time in recent memory. The knot of constant terror that had lived in her chest since the diagnosis loosened, just slightly. Then Victor appeared in the doorway, his expression severe. "My lord, the council has convened an emergency session," he said. "They're requesting your presence within the hour." The temperature in the room seemed to drop. "Requesting?" Jareth said mildly. "Demanding, my lord." Jareth's expression didn't change, but Rosa saw his hands curl slightly. "How did they learn about last night?" "I don't know, my lord, but Council Inquisitor Malachi has made it clear that the matter is urgent." "Of course he has." Jareth looked at Rosa. "I need to attend this. It will likely concern your daughter. You should come." Rosa's stomach clenched. "Will Lily be safe here?" "Mira will stay with her. This estate is warded against any vampire without my permission. She's safer here than anywhere else in Europe." He paused. "But what the council decides will affect her future. You should hear it yourself." "I don't understand vampire politics." "You understand how to fight people who use law as a weapon," Jareth said. "That's all this will be. Different setting, same tactics." Rosa looked at Lily, who was focused on her strawberries. The idea of leaving her, even for an hour, made Rosa's chest tight. But Jareth was right. Whatever was coming, Rosa needed to face it. "Okay," she said. "Let me change." Victor produced clean clothes from somewhere, dark trousers and a simple blouse that fit well enough. Rosa changed quickly, kissed Lily goodbye with promises to return soon, and followed Jareth down to the mansion's lower levels. They descended into what had once been wine cellars, but had been converted into something far more elaborate. Stone corridors lit by electric sconces, doors of dark wood with brass fittings, the smell of old paper and older stone. "The council meets below ground," Jareth explained as they walked. "Safer from sunlight, harder to attack, and good for dramatic atmosphere. They like dramatic atmosphere." "How many council members?" 7, including myself. Malachi is the Inquisitor, responsible for enforcing our laws. He's ancient, powerful, and deeply conservative. He won't like what I've done." "Will the others?" "Some will be neutral. 1 or 2 might support me. It depends on how Malachi frames it." Jareth glanced at her. "Let me speak first. If they address you directly, answer honestly. Don't try to flatter or manipulate them. They'll smell deception." "Literally?" "Yes." Rosa swallowed. "Great." They reached a set of double doors carved with elaborate scenes Rosa didn't have time to examine. Jareth pushed them open without ceremony. The chamber beyond was circular, with a domed ceiling painted in faded frescoes. 7 chairs arranged in a half circle, all facing a clear space in the center. 6 of the chairs were occupied. Rosa tried not to stare. Every vampire in the room had the same unearthly pale skin and white hair, but each carried their immortality differently. Some looked young, barely 20. Others had faces carved by centuries into something remote and beautiful and inhuman. The vampire in the central chair, older looking than the rest, with hair that fell to his waist and eyes like chips of amber, fixed his attention on Jareth immediately. "Jareth," he said, and his voice carried the weight of centuries. "Explain yourself." "Good morning, Malachi," Jareth said pleasantly. "I wasn't aware I needed to explain anything. You administered your blood to a human child without council approval. That requires explanation. I administered my blood to a dying child who appeared at my gate. I acted within my rights as a bloodline king. Your rights do not include creating part bloods without oversight." Malachi's eyes shifted to Rosa. "This is the child's mother?" "I am," Rosa said, lifting her chin. Her heart hammered, but she kept her voice steady. "My daughter was dying. Jareth saved her life. He changed her nature without understanding the consequences," Malachi said. "A part blood child requires careful management, education in our ways, protection from humans who would exploit her abilities. She cannot remain in human custody." Rosa's hands clenched into fists. "She's 6 years old. She needs her mother, not strangers. She needs guidance from those who understand what she is becoming." Malachi turned back to Jareth. "I am formally petitioning for wardship of the child Lily Callahan on behalf of the Council and the Central European bloodlines. She will be raised within our community, educated properly, and prepared for her unique position." "Petition denied," Jareth said flatly. The room went very still. "You cannot simply deny a formal petition," another council member said, a woman who looked about 30, with sharp features and sharper eyes. "The law requires review, deliberation. The law requires that the council consider the child's best interests," Jareth interrupted. "Her best interest is remaining with her mother, who has fought for her life every day for 15 months. Taking her would be trauma on top of trauma. I won't allow it." "This isn't about what you allow," Malachi said, and now there was steel beneath the courtesy. "The child is part blood. She falls under our jurisdiction." "She falls under my protection," Jareth said, "and I am still king of these bloodlines, whatever you might prefer. She stays with her mother, non-negotiable." "Then we vote," Malachi said. He looked around at the other council members. "All in favor of claiming wardship?" 3 hands rose. Malachi's, the sharp-featured woman's, and a third vampire who looked almost bored. Opposed? 2 hands. An older male vampire with kind eyes and a younger-looking one with ink-black tattoos visible at his collar. Jareth didn't vote. 3 in favor, 2 opposed, 1 abstention, Malachi said. "The petition passes. The child will be transferred to council custody within—" "No," Jareth said. Malachi's expression hardened. "You cannot overrule a council vote." "I can when the vote violates the spirit of our own laws," Jareth said. "You're using wardship as a weapon, Malachi. This isn't about the child's welfare. It's about power. You want to remind everyone that the council can challenge me." "This is about a part blood child who needs proper guidance," Malachi said coldly. "Your personal feelings are irrelevant." "My personal feelings are that I will not stand here and watch you traumatize a 6-year-old to make a political point." Jareth's voice remained calm, but Rosa heard the edge beneath it. "Find another battlefield. The law is clear." "The law has an exception," Jareth said. "No ward can be taken from a bloodfather. I claim bloodfathering right over Lily Callahan." The silence that fell was absolute. Rosa didn't understand the significance, but she felt it in the way every vampire in the room went utterly still. Malachi recovered first. "You cannot be serious." "Entirely serious. Bloodfathering requires public acknowledgement," Malachi said slowly. "Formal acceptance of responsibility and permanent bond with the child's mother, recognized before the entire court. You would bind yourself to a human woman you met 12 hours ago?" Rosa's mind reeled. "Wait, what?" "It's the only legal protection that supersedes council wardship," Jareth said, looking at her directly. "If I claim you as my wife and Lily as my daughter in blood, the council has no grounds to separate us. But Malachi is right. It's permanent. No divorce in vampire law. No dissolution." I would be bound to you and Lily for as long as you both live. That's insane, Rosa said. You can't we don't even know each other. I know you love your daughter enough to drive 8 hours on a rumor. I know you threatened a vampire lord at his own gate. I know you'll fight for her against any odds. His expression softened slightly. That's enough for me to respect you. The rest we can learn. But marriage, in name, Jareth said quietly. I'm not asking you to play the role of devoted wife. I'm offering legal protection. You would live here, in the estate, with full access to resources for Lily's care. I would continue giving her my blood to keep the cancer suppressed. In exchange, you accept my name and the protection it provides. Rosa's thoughts spun. This was madness. She'd come here for medicine, not a husband. Certainly not a vampire husband who was offering marriage as a legal maneuver. But she looked at Jareth's face, steady and certain, and thought about what he'd done already. He'd opened his gate at 3 a.m. He'd carried Lily inside without hesitation. He'd sat with her all night, making sure she wasn't alone. He'd given his blood, knowing it would bring the council down on him. He'd done all of it without asking for anything in return. If I say no, Rosa asked, then I'll fight the wardship petition through every legal channel available, Jareth said. It will take time. It will be ugly. I'll win eventually, because I have resources Malachi can't match. But in the meantime, they could petition for temporary custody. You could be separated from Lily for months. Rosa's stomach turned to ice. Months. The idea of Lily confused and scared, asking for her mother while being told she had to stay with strangers. How long do I have to decide? The formal ceremony must happen before the next council meeting, Malachi said, and he sounded smug. 3 days. If you haven't completed the blood-fathering rite by then, the wardship claim stands. Jareth ignored him, his attention still on Rosa. You don't need to decide this second. Think about it. Ask questions. I'll answer anything. Rosa looked around the chamber at the assembled vampires, ancient, powerful, inhuman. They were watching her like she was a curiosity, something novel to observe. Then she thought about Lily upstairs, eating pancakes and smiling for the first time in weeks. Okay, Rosa said. I'll do it. Jareth's expression shifted, something like relief crossing his face. You're certain? I'm certain that I want my daughter safe and healthy, and if marrying you accomplishes that, then it's not even a difficult choice. Rosa met his eyes squarely. But I want to be clear. I'm doing this for Lily, not for you. Don't expect me to play happy families. I expect you to take care of your daughter and tolerate my presence, Jareth said. That's all. Then we have an agreement. Malachi made a sound of disgust. This is absurd. You're making a mockery of blood-fathering rites. I'm using the law exactly as it was written, Jareth said, turning to face him. You tried to weaponize wardship. I'm countering with blood-fathering. If you have a problem with that, take it up with the ancients who wrote the original codes. The ceremony requires witnesses, the sharp-featured woman said. Full court attendance, public vows. You can't simply declare it done. I'm aware of the requirements, Jareth said. The ceremony will take place in 3 days, as Malachi noted. I'll send invitations. Attendance is mandatory for all council members. He turned and walked toward the door, gesturing for Rosa to follow. She did, grateful to escape the oppressive weight of the chamber. They didn't speak until they were back in the upper levels, sunlight streaming through windows. That was dramatic, Rosa said finally. Vampire politics usually is. Jareth paused at the base of the main staircase. I should have asked if you were already married. That was presumptuous. Divorced, Rosa said. Legally finalized 8 months ago, though he left a year before that. Lily's father. Yes, he couldn't handle watching her die. So he left me to do it alone. Rosa's voice came out flat. I haven't heard from him since. Then he's a coward and a fool, Jareth said bluntly. She's a remarkable child. You sat with her for 1 night. 1 night was enough. He started up the stairs and Rosa followed. She woke at dawn, frightened, because she didn't recognize the room. I told her she was safe, and she believed me immediately. Then she asked if I was really a vampire, and when I said yes, She asked if I knew any vampire bats. She was disappointed when I said I didn't. Rosa felt her throat tighten. That sounds like her. She asked about you 3 times. Wanted to make sure you were close by. Once I assured her you were sleeping in the next room, she relaxed. Jareth glanced back at Rosa. You've raised her well. Despite everything, she still trusts the world enough to ask strangers about bats. That's your doing. Rosa didn't know what to say to that. The compliment landed somewhere deep and unexpected, warming something cold inside her chest. They reached the west bedroom. Lily was sitting up with a book, the young woman Mira reading aloud to her. When she saw Rosa, her face lit up. "Mama, Mira knows all the voices. She does the dragon really scary." Rosa crossed to the bed, kissing Lily's forehead. No fever. The improvement was startling. "That's wonderful, baby." "Did you meet more vampires?" Lily asked, eyes wide with curiosity. "Are they all nice like Mr. Jareth?" "Some of them," Rosa said carefully. "Others are grumpy." "Like the mean nurse who gave me the shots?" "A bit like that, yes," Lily nodded sagely. "People are grumpy when they have hard jobs. That's what you told me." "That's true." Rosa smoothed her daughter's hair back, marveling at the improvement. Just 1 dose of vampire blood, and Lily looked more alive than she had in months. "Hey, sweetie, how would you feel about staying here for a while, with Mr. Jareth?" "Here in the big house?" Lily's eyes went even wider. "Really?" "Really. Mr. Jareth has medicine that will help you feel better. But you need to take it for a long time, which means we'd need to live here. Would that be okay?" "Would I get my own room?" "I think that could be arranged," Jareth said from the doorway. "Would you like to pick one?" "Can I see them?" "Are there castles?" "Mama, can I see the rooms?" Rosa looked at Jareth, who nodded. "Mira can show you both around. The entire west wing is at your disposal. Choose whichever rooms suit you." Mira helped Lily out of bed, and Rosa steadied her daughter automatically. Lily was stronger than yesterday, but still weak, still fragile. They spent the next hour exploring the mansion's west wing, Lily exclaiming over every room like it was Disneyland. She chose a bedroom with tall windows and cream-colored walls, declaring it perfect because she could see the garden. Rosa took the room adjacent, the same one she'd slept in last night, close enough to hear if Lily needed her. By the time they returned to Lily's new room, her daughter was exhausted but happy. Rosa helped her into bed, and Lily fell asleep almost immediately. Jareth appeared in the doorway silently. "She has more stamina already." "I noticed." Rosa sank into the chair beside the bed, her own exhaustion catching up with her. "How often does she need your blood?" "Daily, for the first month. After that, we can extend to every few days, then weekly, depending on her response. Eventually, it may stabilize enough for monthly doses." He paused. "I'll teach you to recognize the signs of relapse so you can alert me if needed." "Thank you." They sat in silence for a moment, watching Lily sleep. She looked peaceful, almost normal. "What happens at the ceremony?" Rosa asked finally. "The blood-fathering thing." "Public vows before the assembled court," Jareth said. "You accept me as your husband. I accept you as my wife, and Lily as my daughter in blood. I'll give her my blood formally, and you'll drink from me as well to seal the bond." Rosa's head snapped toward him. "I'll what?" "Drink my blood. 1 mouthful. It's symbolic, not transformative. It won't change you into anything. But it's required to complete the marriage rite." "Oh." Rosa tried to process that. Does it taste awful?" "I'm told it's sweet, like wine with copper undertones." Jareth's mouth quirked. "I wouldn't know personally." "Right, obviously." Rosa rubbed her face. "This is surreal." "Yes." "You're really okay with binding yourself to a stranger forever? That doesn't bother you?" Jareth was quiet for a long moment. "I'm 743 years old," he said finally. "I've been married before, twice, both times to vampire women, both politically advantageous matches arranged by councils and courts. Neither made me particularly happy. Both ended when they did, because vampires can die if they choose to." He looked at her. This marriage may be a legal maneuver, but it's also the first one I've chosen freely. That matters. You're choosing it to protect a dying child, Rosa pointed out. That's not the same as choosing a partner. Isn't it? I'm choosing to bind myself to someone I respect, to protect someone I think deserves protection. That seems more honest than marrying for politics and pretending it's love. Rosa didn't have an answer for that. Get some rest, Jareth said, standing. I'll return this evening for Lily's next dose. If you need anything, tell Victor or Mira. He left, silent as shadow. Rosa sat with Lily until sunset, then forced herself to eat something when Mira brought dinner. Her daughter woke briefly, ate a few bites, then drifted back to sleep. Jareth returned as the sky darkened, bringing with him that sense of contained power. He administered the blood with the same clinical efficiency as before, and Rosa watched Lily's color improve even further. The cancer is responding well, Jareth said as he sealed the wound on his wrist. Her body is remembering what healthy feels like. How long before she's out of danger? If we maintain treatment, she'll never be in danger again. The blood will keep the cancer suppressed indefinitely. He looked at Rosa. She'll live a normal lifespan as a part blood, longer than a typical human but not immortal, perhaps 150 years if she's fortunate. Rosa's breath caught. 150 years. Lily could grow up, grow old, have children of her own, live a full life instead of dying at 6. Thank you, Rosa whispered. I don't know how to ever repay this. You're marrying me in 3 days. I'd say that's sufficient repayment. But Jareth's tone was gentle, almost amused. The next 3 days passed in a blur. Lily grew stronger daily, her appetite returning, her energy increasing. She explored the mansion with Mira, made friends with the kitchen staff, and asked Jareth approximately 8,000 questions about vampires whenever he appeared. He answered every single one with patience Rosa found remarkable. Rosa, meanwhile, tried to prepare herself for a vampire wedding. Mira helped her choose a dress cream silk, simple but elegant. Victor explained the ceremony's structure in his dry, formal way, and Jareth spent increasing amounts of time in the West Wing, usually in Lily's room, reading to her or answering questions or simply sitting quietly while she drew pictures. Rosa watched him with her daughter and felt something complicated unfold in her chest. He was good with Lily, patient and kind, never condescending, treating her like a small person deserving of respect. When Lily asked about what it felt like to be a vampire, he answered honestly. When she asked if he missed being human, he said yes, sometimes, but he'd also had 700 years of experiences he wouldn't trade. Do you have any kids? Lily asked him on the second evening, her head bent over a coloring book. No, Jareth said. Vampires rarely have children. Why not? Creating a vampire child is complicated and dangerous. Most of us choose not to risk it. Lily considered this seriously. But you're going to be my dad now, Mama explained. That's pretty cool. Something crossed Jareth's face, surprise, maybe, or tenderness. You think so? Yeah, you're way better than my old dad. He left when I got sick. That was mean. It was, Jareth agreed quietly. But his failure isn't your fault. You know that, right? Mama says that too. Lily picked a blue crayon, started coloring a flower. She says he was just scared. But I think dads aren't supposed to be scared. They're supposed to stay. Yes, Jareth said, and his voice carried weight. They are. Rosa, listening from the doorway, felt tears prick her eyes. That night, after Lily was asleep, Jareth found Rosa in the library. She'd been trying to distract herself with a book, but the words kept blurring. Lily asked about sleeping arrangements, Jareth said without preamble. She wanted to know if you and I would share a room after the wedding. I told her we'd each keep our own rooms, but we'd all live together in the West Wing. I hope that was appropriate. That's fine. Thank you for handling it. Rosa set the book aside. She really likes you. The feeling is mutual. She's clever and curious and surprisingly brave for someone so young. She's had to be brave. Rosa's throat tightened. I've tried to shield her from the worst of it, but she's been through so much. And she came through it with her kindness intact, Jareth said. That's remarkable. Most people would have grown bitter. She's 6. She doesn't understand enough to be bitter yet. I think you underestimate her. Jareth moved to the window, looking out at the darkened grounds. Are you ready for tomorrow? No, Rosa admitted. But I'll do it anyway. If you change your mind, I won't. Rosa stood, facing him across the library. I meant what I said. I'm doing this for Lily. And I trust you to keep your word. I will. Jareth turned from the window, meeting her eyes. I promise you that, whatever happens, I will protect you and Lily. That's not dependent on vows or ceremonies. It's simply true. Rosa believed him. That was the strangest part. She barely knew this vampire king, but she believed him completely when he said he'd keep them safe. Get some rest, Jareth said. Tomorrow will be long. The ceremony took place in the mansion's grand hall, a cavernous space with marble floors and arched ceilings painted with frescoes of night skies. Every vampire of consequence in Central Europe attended, filling the hall with pale figures dressed in dark finery. Rosa stood beside Jareth in her cream silk dress, Lily between them in a soft blue dress that Mira had found somewhere. Her daughter looked healthy, almost glowing. No one who saw her now would guess she'd been dying a week ago. Malachi presided over the ceremony with thinly veiled disapproval. He read the ancient words in a language Rosa didn't recognize, then switched to English for the vows. Do you, Jareth Ravencroft, King of the Central European bloodlines, take this woman Rosa Callahan as your eternal wife? Do you accept her daughter Lily as your daughter in blood, to protect and provide for as your own? I do, Jareth said, his voice carrying through the hall. Do you, Rosa Callahan, accept Jareth Ravencroft as your eternal husband? Do you accept his protection, his name, and his blood as bond for yourself and your daughter? Rosa felt every vampire in the hall watching her. She looked at Lily, who smiled up at her with complete trust. I do, Rosa said clearly. Malachi produced a silver chalice. Jareth took it, bit his wrist with those sharp fangs, and let his blood flow into the cup. When it was half full, he sealed the wound and handed the chalice to Rosa. Drink, Malachi said. Seal the bond. Rosa lifted the cup to her lips. The blood was warm, and it did taste sweet like wine mixed with something metallic but not unpleasant. She took a mouthful and swallowed, suppressing a shudder at the strangeness. Jareth took the cup from her, then knelt so he was level with Lily. Will you accept me as your father in blood? He asked her gently. It means I'll always take care of you and keep you safe. Yes, Lily said solemnly. You can be my dad. Jareth gave her the gentlest smile Rosa had ever seen on his face. He offered her the chalice, and Lily drank a small sip, wrinkling her nose at the taste. It's done, Malachi said flatly. By the ancient laws, Rosa and Lily Callahan are now Rosa and Lily Ravencroft. The council's petition for wardship is void. A murmur ran through the assembled vampires. Rosa caught some approving looks, some disapproving, many simply curious. Jareth stood, offering his hand to Rosa. She took it, his skin cool and smooth against hers, and he raised their joined hands to acknowledge the crowd. Thank you for witnessing, he said. You're all invited to celebrate with us. The staff has prepared refreshments in the East Wing. The formal part dissolved into something more social. Vampires approached to offer congratulations or thinly veiled political commentary. Rosa stood beside Jareth, feeling completely out of her depth, while he handled every interaction with practiced ease. Lily, meanwhile, became the center of attention for several vampires who seemed genuinely charmed by her. She chattered happily about her new room, the books she'd been reading, and whether vampires could turn into bats, still her most pressing question. The vampire with kind eyes Victor had mentioned his name was Soren knelt to speak with Lily directly. I have a granddaughter about your age, he said. She's part blood, too. Perhaps you'd like to meet her sometime. Really? Lily's face lit up. Does she like coloring? She loves it. Can she come visit? Soren glanced at Jareth, who nodded. We'd be honored to host. Rosa watched this exchange with a strange mixture of gratitude and disorientation. Lily was making friends. She had a future. She was going to live. The reality of it hit Rosa all at once, and she had to excuse herself before the tears came. She found a quiet corner in the west wing, pressing her hands against her face, trying to breathe through the overwhelming flood of relief and gratitude and exhaustion and about a dozen other emotions she couldn't name. Rosa. Jareth's voice was quiet behind her. She hadn't heard him approach. "I'm fine," she said, not turning around. "Just needed a minute." "You're crying." "I'm allowed to cry. My daughter was dying a week ago. Now she's making playdates with other vampire kids. That's a lot to process." She felt rather than heard him move closer. "It is." Rosa finally turned, wiping her eyes. Jareth stood a few feet away, giving her space, his expression concerned. "Thank you," Rosa said. "For all of it. The ceremony, the care, the protection. I know this wasn't what you expected when you opened your gate last week." "No," Jareth agreed, "but I don't regret it. You're stuck with us now, permanently, according to vampire law." "I'm aware." His mouth quirked. "I believe I was present when we made the vows." "Doesn't that bother you? Being tied to strangers?" "You're not strangers anymore," Jareth said simply. "You're family, by law and by choice." Rosa didn't know what to say to that. The word family settled into her chest, warm and unexpected. "Come back to the reception," Jareth said. "Lily is teaching Soren's granddaughter how to draw dinosaurs, and it's possibly the most charming thing I've witnessed in 2 centuries. Rosa laughed despite herself, and they returned to the celebration together. The weeks that followed fell into a rhythm Rosa hadn't expected. Lily thrived. Her strength returned steadily, the cancer held at bay by daily doses of Jareth's blood. She explored the mansion and gardens, made friends with the staff, and attended twice-weekly lessons with a tutor Jareth hired to keep her education on track. Rosa settled into life at the estate with a mixture of relief and bewilderment. She had her own suite of rooms, her own space, but she found herself spending increasing amounts of time in the communal areas. The library became her refuge, and the gardens her thinking place. And Jareth was there, a constant, steady presence. He gave Lily her doses every evening, often staying to read with her or answer her endless questions. He treated Rosa with unfailing courtesy and respect, never pushing boundaries, never demanding anything beyond what their arrangement required. But Rosa found herself noticing things. The way he smiled when Lily made him laugh. The careful way he moved through the world, conscious of his strength. The times she'd find him in the library late at night reading by lamplight, and he'd look up and ask if she wanted tea. Small things, human things, despite his nature. One evening, about 6 weeks after the ceremony, Rosa found Jareth in Lily's room after her daughter had fallen asleep. He was sitting in the chair beside the bed, a book open in his lap, watching Lily with an expression Rosa couldn't quite read. "She's completely healthy now," he said quietly when he noticed Rosa in the doorway. "Her blood work is perfect. The cancer is undetectable. She's gaining weight appropriately. Every measure says she's thriving." "I know," Rosa said. "I can see it. She's my daughter again, not a patient, just a kid. She asked me today if we could get a dog." Jareth's mouth quirked. "I said I'd consider it." "You don't have to do that." "I want to. She's been through enough. If a dog makes her happy, that seems like a small price." Rosa moved into the room, taking the other chair. "You've been good to her, better than I had any right to expect." "She makes it easy," Jareth said. "She's a remarkable child, Rosa. You should be proud." "I am." Rosa looked at her daughter's sleeping face, peaceful and healthy. "I'm also grateful to you. I don't think I've said that enough." "You've said it plenty." "Not really." Rosa met his eyes. "You saved her life. You married me to protect us. You've opened your home and your resources without asking for anything in return. That's extraordinary." "I did ask for something," Jareth said quietly. "I asked you to accept my protection and my name. You did. That's enough." They sat in comfortable silence for a while, watching Lily sleep. "Can I ask you something?" Rosa said finally. "Of course." "That night at the gate, when I threatened to call journalists, you could have had Victor send me away. You could have ignored me completely. Why didn't you?" Jareth considered the question carefully. "I was working in my study when I heard your voice on the intercom. Victor had refused you 3 times already, but you kept trying. And there was something in your voice, desperation, yes, but also steel. You weren't begging. You were demanding, refusing to accept no as an answer." He paused. "I was curious about someone who would threaten a vampire lord to save their child. So I walked down to the gate myself and saw Lily. Anne saw a dying child in the back seat of a car held together with hope and duct tape, and a mother who'd driven through the night on a rumor." Jareth's expression softened. "How could I turn you away after that?" "Most people would have." "I'm not most people." Rosa found herself smiling. "No, you're really not." Something shifted between them in that moment, a connection that went beyond legal arrangement or mutual protection. Rosa felt it settle into place, warm and unexpected, and when Jareth met her eyes, she thought he felt it too. "I should let you rest," Jareth said, standing. "It's late." "Wait," Rosa said. Do you want tea? I was going to make some." Jareth paused, then smiled. "I'd like that." They went down to the kitchen together, moving quietly through the dark mansion. Rosa made tea while Jareth leaned against the counter, and they talked about small things, books they'd read, places they'd traveled, Lily's latest questions about vampire mythology. It felt normal, easy, like talking with an old friend instead of a vampire king she'd married out of necessity. When Rosa finally returned to her room, she found herself thinking about Jareth's smile, the way he'd laughed at one of her stories, the comfortable silence between words. She told herself it didn't mean anything. They were bound by law and circumstance, nothing more. But late at night, alone in her room, she admitted to herself that maybe it could mean something, given time. The seasons turned. Summer became autumn. Autumn became winter. Lily started attending a small school for part-blood children, making friends who understood what it meant to be caught between human and vampire. She flourished there, her intelligence and curiosity finding new outlets. Rosa found work consulting remotely for a legal aid organization, using her paralegal skills to help people fight insurance companies and medical debt collectors. It felt good to use her knowledge for something meaningful again, and Jareth remained a constant presence in their lives. He attended Lily's school events. He taught her chess and history and how to recognize constellations. He asked Rosa about her work and listened when she talked about difficult cases. They fell into a partnership that felt less like an arrangement and more like a life. Rosa noticed when the shift happened, the moment her feelings changed from gratitude to something deeper. It was winter, 3 months after the wedding, and Lily had caught a cold, nothing serious, but she was miserable with congestion and a fever. Rosa sat up with her through the night, managing medications and cool compresses, trying to keep her daughter comfortable. Around 3 in the morning, exhausted and worried, despite knowing it was just a cold, Rosa heard quiet footsteps in the hall. Jareth appeared in the doorway in sleep clothes, hair loose around his shoulders. "I heard her coughing. Is she all right?" "Just a cold," Rosa said, "but she's uncomfortable." Jareth moved into the room, his hand gentle on Lily's forehead. "Fever?" "Mild. I've been managing it." "You look exhausted. Let me sit with her for a while. You need rest." Rosa wanted to argue, but the truth was she was running on fumes. "You're sure?" "Completely sure. Go sleep. I'll wake you if anything changes." Rosa stumbled to her room and collapsed into bed. When she woke 4 hours later, dawn light filtering through the curtains, she found Jareth still in Lily's room. He'd moved to sit beside the bed, Lily's hand in his, reading softly from one of her favorite books. Her daughter was sleeping peacefully, her breathing easier. Jareth looked up when Rosa entered, and he smiled, tired but genuine. "The fever broke an hour ago. She's doing much better." Rosa felt something crack open in her chest. This vampire king, 700 years old and powerful beyond measure, had sat up all night with her sick daughter, reading picture books and holding her hand. "Thank you," Rosa whispered. Of course. Jareth stood carefully, not disturbing Lily. She asked for you twice when she woke briefly. I told her you were resting and you'd be here soon. She seemed satisfied with that. You didn't have to stay all night. I wanted to. Jareth moved past her toward the door, then paused. She's my daughter now, too. In all the ways that matter. He said it simply, like a fact. And Rosa realized he meant it completely. That was when she knew. This wasn't just gratitude or partnership anymore. She was falling in love with him. The realization should have terrified her. Instead, it felt inevitable, like something that had been building since that first night at the gate. Rosa didn't say anything. Not yet. She needed time to understand these feelings, to make sure they were real and not just a product of proximity and gratitude. But she started noticing more. The way Jareth's eyes found her across a room. The way he asked about her day like he genuinely cared. The small gestures, a book he'd found that he thought she'd like, flowers in her room from the estate gardens, making sure her favorite tea was always stocked in the kitchen. And the way he looked at Lily with such unguarded affection that it made Rosa's heart ache. She caught him one evening in the library, standing by the window, looking out at the snow-covered grounds with an expression of deep contentment. You look happy, Rosa said from the doorway. Jareth turned, and his smile was soft. I am. This house has felt more alive in the past few months than it has in decades. That's because of you and Lily. Rosa moved into the room, her heart beating faster. We've disrupted your entire life. You've improved it beyond measure. Jareth's gaze held hers. I won't pretend this arrangement was what I expected, but it's become something I value deeply. You both have. We value you too, Rosa said quietly. Lily adores you. She asks about you constantly when you're not around. And you? The question was gentle, but Rosa heard the weight beneath it. She hesitated, then decided to be honest. I'm glad I came to your gate that night, not just because you saved Lily, because we found you. Jareth's expression shifted, warming in a way that made him look less like an ancient vampire king and more like a man who'd been alone too long. I'm glad, too. They stood there in the library, snow falling outside, and something unspoken passed between them. An acknowledgement, a possibility. Rosa wasn't ready to name it yet, but she felt it settling into her bones, warm and certain. Spring came, bringing with it Lily's 7th birthday. She'd been healthy for nearly 6 months, her part blood nature fully integrated. She was stronger than a typical 7-year-old, healed faster, and showed signs of the enhanced abilities that would develop as she grew. They celebrated with a party that included Lily's school friends, several young part-bloods who descended on the mansion with the chaos of normal children. Jareth handled it with remarkable patience, organizing games and managing disputes over cake with the gravity he usually reserved for council meetings. Rosa watched him crouch down to talk with a crying child who'd lost at musical chairs, explaining gently that losing didn't mean she wasn't wonderful, and felt her heart squeeze with affection so intense it nearly hurt. That night, after the guests had gone and Lily was asleep, exhausted and happy, Rosa found Jareth in the garden. He stood among the spring flowers, face tilted up to the stars. Thank you for today, Rosa said, approaching slowly. It was perfect. She'll remember it forever. She deserved a perfect birthday, Jareth said. After everything she's been through. You're good with children. I didn't expect that. I've had 700 years to observe people. You learn what children need. He looked at her, his expression gentle in the moonlight. Are you happy here, Rosa? The question caught her off guard. What? Are you happy? I know this life wasn't what you chose. You're here because Lily needed protection, but she's healthy now, stable. If you wanted to leave to find your own place, I would understand. The marriage is legal protection. It doesn't require you to stay in this house. Rosa's chest tightened. Do you want us to leave? No. The answer came immediately, almost fierce. But I don't want you to feel trapped either. I don't feel trapped. Rosa moved closer until she was standing beside him among the flowers. I feel safe and valued, and like I've found something I didn't know I was looking for. Jareth turned to face her fully. What do you mean? Rosa took a breath, gathering courage. I mean that this stopped being just an arrangement for me a while ago. You're not just protection or a legal maneuver. You're... She paused, searching for words. You've become family. Really become family. And I care about you. More than I probably should, given how this started. Jareth went very still. Rosa. I'm not asking for anything, Rosa said quickly. I just wanted you to know that I'm here because I want to be. Because you matter to me, both as Lily's father and as yourself. Jareth reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away, and brushed his fingers against her cheek. His touch was cool but gentle. You matter to me too, he said quietly. More than I expected. More than I thought possible when I opened that gate 6 months ago. You and Lily have become the center of my world. I wake up thinking about what story I'll read to her that evening. I look forward to talking with you over tea. I find myself planning things months in advance because I know you'll both be here, and I want to give you reasons to stay. Rosa's breath caught. Jareth. I know this marriage started as protection, Jareth continued, but I've come to care for you, Rosa, deeply. And if there's any chance you might feel the same, Rosa didn't let him finish. She stepped forward and kissed him. For a second he froze, surprised. Then he kissed her back with a tenderness that made her knees weak. His hand cupped her face, his other arm circling her waist, and he held her like she was precious. When they finally pulled apart, both breathing hard, Jareth rested his forehead against hers. I'll take that as a yes, he murmured, and Rosa felt him smile. Definitely a yes, Rosa said. I love you. I've been falling for months, but I was afraid to say it. I love you too. Jareth kissed her again, soft and lingering. My brave, fierce, remarkable Rosa. They stood in the garden until the stars began to fade, talking quietly, learning the shape of this new thing between them. When they finally went inside, Jareth walked Rosa to her door and kissed her goodnight like a promise. The next morning, when Lily came bounding into the breakfast room, she stopped short at seeing Rosa and Jareth sitting close together, their hands intertwined on the table. Are you and Mama in love now? Lily asked, with the blunt curiosity of a 7-year-old. Jareth glanced at Rosa, who nodded, then looked at Lily. Yes. Is that all right with you? Lily considered this seriously. Does that mean you'll be my dad for real? Not just the blood magic way? I'm your father for real already, Jareth said gently. Blood magic or not, that won't change. But will you and Mama be happy like people in movies? We'll try our best, Rosa said. Is that okay with you? Lily beamed. That's awesome. Can we get a dog now? Rosa and Jareth both laughed, and Jareth said, Yes, we can get a dog. Lily shrieked with joy and launched herself at both of them, and they caught her in a 3-way hug that felt like family in the truest sense. Life continued to unfold. Rosa moved from her separate room into Jareth's suite, a slow integration that felt natural and right. They navigated this new dimension of their relationship with care, learning each other as partners as well as co-parents. Lily thrived, growing stronger and more confident. The dog arrived a rescued mutt named Dragon, who became her constant companion. She excelled at school, made close friends, and asked increasingly sophisticated questions about what it meant to be part blood. Jareth answered every question with patience and honesty. He taught her about vampire history, about honor and responsibility, about choosing kindness even when strength would be easier. Rosa watched him with their daughter and fell more deeply in love with every passing day. One evening, nearly a year after that first desperate night at the gate, Rosa found Jareth in his study, reviewing some council documents. She leaned against the doorframe, just watching him for a moment. He looked up, sensing her presence, and smiled. Hello, love. How was Lily's riding lesson? She's a natural. Wants to compete in shows now. Rosa moved into the room, settling into the chair across from his desk. I have a question. Ask. You told me once that vampires can turn humans, that it requires death and revival. Rosa met his eyes steadily. Is that offer open to me? Jareth went very still. You want to turn? Eventually. Not right now. Lily still needs a mother who can go out in the sun with her, who doesn't have to hide behind blackout curtains. But eventually, yes. Because I don't want a human lifespan with you. I want centuries. Jareth rose from his desk, moved around it, and knelt in front of her chair so they were eye level. You're certain? Turning is permanent. You'd lose the sun, normal food, the ability to age. You'd become something else. I'd become something that gets to stay with you and Lily for the next century or more, Rosa said. That seems worth a few sacrifices. What about Lily? She'll age slowly, but she'll still grow up and grow old eventually. Which is why I want to be there for all of it. And when she's older, when she understands what it means, maybe she'll choose to turn too. But even if she doesn't, I want to be with her as long as possible. And with you. Jareth's eyes were bright with emotion. I never expected this. When I opened that gate, I thought I was saving a child. I didn't know I was gaining a family. Surprise, Rosa said softly. You're stuck with us. There's nowhere I'd rather be stuck. Jareth pulled her down into a kiss, tender and deep. When they finally separated, he said, When you're ready, when Lily is old enough to understand, I'll turn you and we'll have forever. Forever, Rosa repeated, testing the word. It didn't frighten her, not with him. Years passed. Lily grew into a remarkable young woman, strong, kind, brilliant. She studied vampire law and human rights, determined to bridge the gap between the two worlds. She never forgot what her mother had done to save her, or what Jareth had risked to protect them both. When she turned 18, Rosa chose to turn. It was a decision they made together as a family, discussed over months, considered from every angle. The turning itself was difficult, 3 days of death and transformation, but Rosa woke to immortality with Jareth's face above hers and Lily's hand in her own. She mourned the sun for a while, but she found joy in the nighttime world. In centuries ahead with the man she loved. In watching Lily navigate her unique position with grace and intelligence. Eventually, Lily chose to turn as well, wanting the full strength and immortality that vampirism offered. She had plans, big plans for reforming the Council's treatment of part bloods, for creating better protections for vulnerable humans, for building bridges between their species. Jareth supported her completely. Rosa did too. They'd raised a daughter who would change their world for the better. But that all came later. On a crisp autumn evening, nearly 30 years after that desperate night at the gate, Rosa and Jareth stood at the entrance to the Academy for Part Blood children, Lily now fully vampire, fully adult. But still their daughter was starting her position as a teacher there. Did you pack her lunch? Rosa asked, adjusting Lily's collar unnecessarily. Mama, I'm 36 years old, Lily said, exasperated but affectionate. I don't need a packed lunch. You need to eat properly. Teaching is exhausting. I'm immortal. I don't technically need to eat at all. Blood doesn't count as a proper meal, Rosa insisted. Jareth watched this exchange with clear amusement. We've had this argument before. Because you both gang up on me about nutrition, Lily said, but she was smiling. I love you both. Thank you for coming. Of course we came, Jareth said. It's your first day. That's important. They walked Lily to the main building, helped her carry boxes to her classroom, and offered approximately 100 pieces of unsolicited advice. Lily tolerated it with good humor, hugging them both before sending them away. Rosa and Jareth walked back to the car hand in hand, the evening cool and beautiful around them. She doesn't need us anymore, Rosa said, feeling wistful. She'll always need us, just differently. Jareth squeezed her hand. And we have centuries ahead to figure out what comes next. Any ideas? Several, but they all involve you. Rosa leaned into him as they walked. That night at the gate, when I begged you to save her, did you know it would end up like this? Not remotely, Jareth admitted. I thought I'd give her my blood. You'd both stay for a few weeks, then you'd leave when she was stable. I never imagined I'd gain a family. Best mistake you ever made? Opening that gate was the best decision I've ever made in 700 years, Jareth said firmly. You and Lily gave me a reason to be more than just a king. You gave me a life. You saved us, Rosa said, both literally and figuratively. You gave us a future. We saved each other. They reached the car, but neither moved to get in. They stood in the evening air, watching the academy lights glow warm in the twilight. I love you, Rosa said. I love you too, Jareth replied. Forever. And forever, Rosa thought, sounded absolutely perfect.